Every 12th of February, there's a host of events around the world celebrating the birth of Charles Darwin. This year is a special year. It's the 200th anniversary of Darwin's birth. It's also the 150th anniversary of the publication of Origin of Species, Darwin's seminal work that describes the nature and the mechanisms of evolution. Origin is arguably the most important scientific work in the history of mankind, for reasons that I'd like to explain. Every scientific discovery helps explain our world to some degree, and any scientist that makes and progresses our understanding in any way whatsoever in that direction deserves our respect. But certain scientists become esteemed above any others. The scientists with the insight to discover something that not only totally revolutionizes our understanding of nature, but also answers one of the profound questions about human existence. And these profound questions are: what is the fundamental nature of the world in which we live? How did we get here? What's the nature of creation itself? Why are we the way we are? What makes our human nature? Newton answered the first of these questions, and Darwin answered the other two. Newton showed that our universe was ordered in a way we hadn't actually dreamed, by natural laws, mathematically expressible, and that everything acted in accordance with those laws. Today we take that idea for granted, but when Newton showed this to be the case, it was quite a revolutionary idea. The word science hadn't even come into use in Newton's time. He called his own work natural philosophy, and he was quite rightly seeing these ideas as a type of worldview based on certain key principles that he identified. First, the world is real and it is material. Secondly, that which is material behaves by cause and effect, and only cause and effect. And thirdly, that there exist fixed relationships between space, matter, energy, and time. Moreover, Newton showed that in his work, in the most significant fashion, that the way to discover these things is by a scientific method, by observation, measurement, rational analysis, and testing, all of which, of necessity, must be unfettered by personal bias or dogma. These ideas were so profound they shaped the philosophical thinking of the next 2 centuries, and in essence spawned the Enlightenment. To the thinking men of the 17th or 18th century, Newton's discoveries altered the way we perceived God. God became more of a prime mover. A designer and a lawmaker where the laws that he made were the laws of physics. It was a deist God rather than the old theist God. But as to man's station in this grand scheme of God, that was totally unchanged. Man was central to God's design, man the hub and center of things, as the earth had once been the center of the universe before Copernicus, Galileo, and Newton. For the Enlightenment mind, the question of where such a rich range of species had originated still placed us in a pre-ordered design carried out by God himself. There could be no other explanation for the design of the world. This all changed with Darwin. Darwin essentially discovered how we got here, and how we got here without God. There are 4 simple principles that underlie Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. First, that species are not constant, that they're constantly in the flux of change. Most of them are essentially extinct, as we will probably be extinct within some period of history in the future. Secondly, that all life has a common descent, that is, all life arises out of a tree of life where one species essentially branches off from existing species, but everything essentially goes back to a common origin. And all these changes are gradual, taking place over millions of years, in the same way as geological change takes place in millions of years. And finally, and most importantly, that the mechanisms of change are natural selection. What Darwin discovered, though he didn't express it this way, is that life evolved according to an algorithm, a mathematically structured program or process. Anything that undergoes this process must involve 4 key elements: replication, variation, heritability, and competition. This will produce a population that adapts to the criteria imposed by the nature of the competition. The evolutionary algorithm designs things based on the blind, mindless process. Evolutionary algorithms are mathematical objects beyond use just in biology. They're used in engineering and other mathematical problem-solving areas. In this way, Darwin discovered that the existence of life is based on the solid footing of mathematical principles. The other major thing that Darwinism explains is why we are the way we are. First, in the structure of our bodies, our design. Our design can be traced back through our ancestors and common links established. Essentially, it's a historical analysis of the nature of the human being. Combined with game theory, evolutionary game theory, the social behavior that we have is based entirely on Darwinian principles. First, through kinship behavior that exists in all social animals, and finally through behaviors of altruism and leading to behaviors and ethical structures that arise in a social structure as derived from Darwinian principles combined with evolutionary game theory. In our behavior as family units and human sexuality and child rearing, Darwinian principles define the male-female roles, the mating and bonding principles, and the family behavior that exists in the fundamental human unit. Darwin, like Newton, changed the human perception of a deity. Darwin showed that complexity requires no supernatural creator. There's no teleology in creation, no end type, and no fixed point in which we're going to arrive to. More fundamentally, that a creator is not part of the operative universe. If there ever was a creator, that creator just started things moving as elementary replicating chemical structures, and that the concept of a personal God in this general scheme can't possibly exist. Our origin was lowly, and we are not special or central in this grand evolutionary scheme. Fundamentally, that scheme that has created us is bereft of all intelligence. It's blind and simple. Darwin concluded origin with a certain admonition that this new understanding was not a diminished view of life and our universe, nor a cold and materialistic one. It was indeed quite a wonderful view, amazingly rich and beautiful. It's even more so because we can understand and appreciate its astounding nature, and unlike explanations that have gone before it, at last we have an explanation that is not only impressive, but is also true. For all this, we have Charles Darwin to thank. A happy Darwin Day to you.